Let's get real for a second. In a world obsessed with reactions, validation, and emotional displays, being calm, quiet, and unaffected isn't weakness, it's control. Emotional untouchability isn't about being cold or numb. It's about mastering your inner world so deeply that chaos no longer finds a way in. Most men today are pulled in 100 directions by every opinion, every conflict, every insult. But there's another way, one where you remain grounded while the world spins off its axis. Think about it. How many times have you felt hijacked by your own emotions? One comment ruins your whole day. One person's silence turns into hours of overthinking. That's not power. That's slavery to the external. The Stoics knew this. They didn't waste energy trying to control what they couldn't. Instead, they trained themselves to be unmoved by it. And that's what this video is about. 7 signs that you've stepped into that rare place, that mental state where you're no longer shaken, where reactions don't define you, where your peace is unbothered and your value isn't up for debate. The first sign that you're becoming emotionally untouchable is silence. Not the kind born from fear or avoidance, but the deliberate kind. When you stop explaining yourself to people who already made up their minds, you've taken your power back. Silence isn't passive. It's a weapon, calculated, measured, and controlled. It shows you no longer feel the need to prove anything. When people throw shade, project insecurities, or try to bait a reaction, and you simply observe without engaging, that's strength most people will never understand. The second sign is detachment. You're not cold. You're not bitter. You've just learned that holding on to what hurts you is a slow form of self-destruction. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care more about your peace than someone else's chaos. When a relationship becomes a battlefield, when people keep disrespecting your boundaries and instead of arguing, you walk away, not with anger but with clarity. That's when you know you're evolving. And the third sign? You stop over-explaining your value. You don't beg people to see your worth. You don't chase attention and you don't try to fix perceptions, because the man who knows his value doesn't market it. He embodies it. You stop apologizing for being too direct, too quiet, too different. You simply exist in your power and let others catch up, or not. Either way, you're untouched. The fourth sign that you're becoming emotionally untouchable is your response to disrespect, or rather, your lack of it. You no longer feel the need to clap back, defend your name, or chase closure. When someone disrespects you, your silence speaks louder than any comeback ever could. You don't react, you remove. You understand that stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about choosing your battles so carefully that most aren't even worth your breath. Disrespect doesn't shake you anymore because you've trained your mind to see it for what it is, a reflection of the other person's chaos, not your value. Then there's the fifth sign. You don't seek revenge. Not because you couldn't destroy someone if you really wanted to, but because you've realized revenge ties you to the same energy you're trying to rise above. Instead, you let karma, or better yet their own patterns, do the job. You rise, you move forward, you evolve, and by the time they notice your absence, you've already built a life so strong that they're no longer even relevant to it. That's not indifference, that's power. And the sixth sign? You embrace solitude. Most people can't stand being alone because silence exposes everything they've been avoiding, but not you. You find strength in stillness, peace in your own presence. Solitude isn't emptiness for you, it's maintenance. It's where you sharpen your mind, reset your energy, and return to center. While others chase noise to feel full, you subtract it to find clarity. If this speaks to you, subscribe and hit the bell, not for me, but for the man you're becoming. The seventh sign that you've become emotionally untouchable is how you handle pressure. Where others panic, you pause. When the moment gets loud, you get quiet. And not because you're suppressing fear, but because you've trained yourself to respond, not react. Pressure no longer exposes your weakness, it reveals your preparation. You've learned that composure in chaos isn't a gift. It's a skill, built, earned, sharpened, and most of all, protected. You start noticing how people come to you when everything's falling apart, not because you have all the answers, but because your presence doesn't add more noise. You've become the calm in the storm, the one who doesn't flinch. And that's rare. That's the energy people respect even when they don't understand it. They may call it cold, they may call it distant, but deep down, they feel the difference. They feel your silence holding weight. And something else changes. You stop trying to control outcomes. You realize you're responsible for your actions, your mindset, your choices, not the reactions of others, not the results. So you move different. You stop forcing conversations, proving points, begging for honesty or effort. You show up with your truth and let everything else fall where it may. That's real power, not needing things to go your way and still being at peace when they don't. When you reach this level of emotional clarity, your energy becomes expensive. Not in a loud, look at me kind of way, but in the way you carry yourself. People notice it, the way you speak less but say more, the way you don't chase, don't beg, don't explain. You've become selective, intentional. You don't show up for drama, for noise, or for validation. You're done entertaining empty connections, shallow conversations, or people who drain your focus. And that's not ego. That's evolution. You start setting invisible boundaries. You don't need to announce who's cut off. You just quietly remove access. You don't fight for space where you're not respected. You don't correct people's misunderstanding of you. Let them think whatever helps them sleep. You're busy building. The moment you stop needing everyone to get you is the moment you reclaim your mental freedom. And it's in this space, this silence, this groundedness, where the right people start showing up. Not because you convinced them, but because your energy shifted. Because you've stepped fully into who you are without needing to explain it. You no longer ask for seats at tables that weren't built for you. You build your own, sit down, and let your peace do the talking. That's what being emotionally untouchable really looks like. Not loud, not bitter, just sovereign. And here's the part they don't tell you. Once you become emotionally untouchable, the world starts responding to you differently. People respect what they can't shake. You stop getting invited to the petty fights, the shallow circles, the noise. Not because you're above anyone, but because you've become unavailable to anything that pulls you away from your center. You've created internal standards that reject anything chaotic, desperate, or fake. And now, you live by them. You realize this isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally disciplined. You still feel, but you no longer fall. You still care, but you don't chase. Your reactions are no longer dictated by impulse, but by principle. You've mastered the hardest art there is, control of self, and that makes you rare, not flashy, not performative, but rare, like a still lake in a storm. You move slow, you think sharp, and when you speak, it lands. So now the question becomes this. In a world that thrives on noise, distraction, and emotional chaos, can you become the man who remains calm, silent, and untouchable?